On our last episode, we set up an email address and set up a website and pointed the domain name to the email address. So we now have an email address, main@makeagamenow.com, and that goes to our new Gmail address, makeagamenow@gmail.com. I tested it. It actually is working. It was not a propagation issue. It was because Google detected the loopback and so didn't send the email to itself. Google does that for some reason. I don't know exactly even how they do it, but they do. So let's get started. We're going to first open up www.unity3d.com, and we're going to get ourselves a copy of Unity3d. So what we're going to do is we're going to click download and download it, which should start your download immediately. It'll just do one of these things. Or wait, I guess you have to click download Unity 5.2. Now, while that's downloading, or rather while it's not downloading, because I'm going to cancel it because I already downloaded it ahead of time. Did a little bit of offline work. Sorry I didn't show the whole download, but I figure you'll figure that part out. So this is going to be slightly different on Mac. On PC, it'll be double-click, hit next, okay. It's going to be kind of the same thing. You double-click it. It brings up this Unity installer. You click here, double-click, continue, agree, install. You know, it's the same stuff, different words. If you're on Windows, there's going to be a lot of nexts. Just go through it, install it wherever you want. If you want to customize the installation, go right ahead. But we're going to be basing it on a default install, so that people who just do default installs can get on it with their lives. I am showing the screen, right? Yes, I am. So, we've got it installed. Yay. Let's look at our little thank you message. Oh, get ready to be delighted and astonished at how fast, fun, and efficient it is to create a beautiful game with Unity. Yes, we are going to fun, fast, and efficient. It may not be beautiful. I'm a programmer, not an artist, but we'll figure something out. So, now that we have Unity installed, if you're on Mac, you can drag the installer thing to the trash because you don't need it anymore. You could also throw away the DMG, but I'm not going to bother with that right now. And I'm going to go into Applications, Unity3d, or Unity, and then Unity. We're going to open it up for the first time. So, first time you open up Unity, it's going to ask you to activate a license or something, and we don't want a license. We're going to be using the free version of Unity, which is still very full-featured. So we can start using it immediately, and if you want to upgrade later, you can do the $75 a month or whatever. And if you need Unity Pro for some reason, you can activate a 30-day free trial. I recommend playing around with the free version first, and if there's a reason that you need Pro, like you need those render targets, go ahead and check it out. So we're going to hit OK. Log into your account. We're going to create an account. Name, Maximilian Moreau. Email, main@makeagamenow.com. Now, we created two email addresses. The actual email address is makeagamenow@gmail.com. This is our forwarding address that goes to that. I recommend setting up all your software under a single email address that is under a domain name that you control. The reason for this is, say you make a game, and it ends up being awesome, and people love it, and you end up making a company. It means that you have less headache migrating things over when you have to bring in other people to administer things, and you have to tell people your passwords and do all this stuff. If it's all under one account, that's just one password you have to deal with. You change it once to be something that's this known for the studio or the people who need to know it, and you're done. If you use like the Gmail account and Google explodes sometime in the future, and in the post-apocalypse society, everyone has to use a web crawler for everything for some reason, or AOL.com, or I don't know what, Yahoo, you will not die with it. You have a domain name. You can redirect it to somewhere else. You will be in control of this stuff. Really important to do this earlier rather than later. That's part of the reason that we did it so early on the show. So, password, whatever. All right. Agree to use Unity terms of use and privacy policy. Okay. Log into your account. Whoop. And I really don't want the Unity news. I have to confirm my account. Okay, so let's go to our email. First of all, who am I signed in as? Okay, I think I'm not signed in. Likes to sign me in as Pushy Pixels. So, really does. Alright, confirmation instructions. Confirm email. And actually, it looks like Gandhi gave me some confirmation stuff too, so I'm going to go ahead and do that as well. Unity account is now confirmed. Yay! Your contact is now validated. Yay! Everything's great. So we can close out of that. And actually, I'm just going to make sure that we're still broadcasting. I'm sure that we are, but I did it a little bit differently, and I had to sign out and sign in and do all this other junk. No, I won't. If someone's commenting, I'm sorry, I'm not going to see your comments on this episode. Not until later, at least. So, we're going to do make a game now at... No, sorry. Main at makeagamenow.com. Password is whatever the password is. Close. We don't want that stuff. Oh, wait. I agree to the... They had both of those? That was weird. What is your level of experience? Advanced. I am a small studio, indie developer, hobbyist. No, I guess I have to choose one. I'll go with small studio. 2 to 4. We'll pretend. Yeah, we're gonna do that one. We might do some BlackBerry. Yeah, I don't want Facebook. Yeah, heck yeah, it'd be awesome. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Yep, like that one. Like that one. Other virtual boy. All right. Professional interests. All of them. Just production, programming, games, training. That's appropriate. Other No, it's just I like real-time turn-based multiplayer. 2D, 3D, and mixed. I like it all. And we are in the U.S. Company name. Leave that blank. Please answer this question. I did. Oh, state. Oregon. Okay. Start using Unity. Alright. So, when Unity first opens, it's going to open up Angry Bots. Might as well play it since it's open anyway. So it says show up startup, welcome to Unity. I'm going to go ahead and click this away, but if you might want to go through some video tutorials or check out the forums, just have that show up at startup and it'll remind you. So if you hit play on Angry Bots, you'll start playing Angry Bots. And you'll be playing it in this little editor window. And you can shoot things. This is a project that comes with Unity. Kind of shows off what Unity is capable of. And it's controlled with WASD and moving the mouse around and shooting. It's kind of cool. It's actually a rather complex project, and it's actually hard to learn from because of that, unfortunately, especially if you're a beginner. But it is a very well-made project, so if you get to the intermediate stage, definitely go in here, play with stuff. We might play with stuff on the show tonight, maybe, but we're probably just going to start a much simpler project to look at things. So I'm going to change some options in Unity to make things easier to work with, I think. One of the big ones is, if you noticed, it opened up Angry Bots immediately. By default, it will open up the last project that was opened, and if you have just started Unity, it will open up Angry Bots to show you what things do. So to fix that, to make it so it does not open the project automatically, you can click Always Show Project Wizard. This will bring up a different display when you start that allows you to choose a project or create a new one. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment here. We don't need to really change any of these, although one of the things I'm going to change is play mode tint. When you hit play, if you're in play mode, you can still look at things and change things. Like if I go to, where is this guy? So if I go to the scene and we try to find that little robot there, there's our little robot. We could make him stop moving. And let's make his rigid body kinematics now really stop moving. And we could, I don't know, make him really big. Let's just scale him up here, just gigantic. And we can just do this while it's running, and then we could like say, oh, let's get him moving again. So we gotta put that back on. So now we've got this really big boss dude. He's terrifying. Stop shooting at us. I'm not sure exactly why that happened, but that's okay. But we make all these changes, right? And if you hit play again, and you hit play, none of those changes will save. This guy will come back in, and he'll be a super small little robot again. There he is. And so it's really helpful to remind you that you were in play mode some way, other than just this being depressed and the sound going. Especially if you have a project that doesn't have sound yet. It makes it kind of hard. That was the wrong window. We're going to go to Preferences. So on colors, I like to make the play mode tint something really just jarring and hard to actually see things a little bit, just so that I am encouraged to not make changes while the project is running. So let's try that. So now if we hit play, the whole screen goes this red alert red, and now we know that we're playing, and we know that any changes we make are temporary. I'm actually going to make it a little bit brighter than that, just because that was kind of hard to read the text. It does let's do 192. I like that number for some reason. Play, let's see how that goes. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Still a little hard on the eyes, but maybe that's the point. I'm going to make it a little bit softer still. Preferences, we'll just make it a little pinky, I guess. Colors, let's just raise this by like 50 and 50, and then go all the way. There, let's go with that color. Now it's going to be really pink. Or purple. Oh, yeah, I like that, actually. Alright, so now we know. So, Angry Bots, as I said, really complex game. Kind of hard to show off how to do things in Unity, but it is here if you want to look at it. There's actually a lot of good example projects you can look at. I highly recommend going into the asset store and exploring around. There's a lot of stuff that's for free on here. Unity has a built-in concept called the asset store that allows you to download complete projects, models, textures, scripts, all sorts of cool stuff that make your life a little bit easier or allow you to get stuff done in your game a little bit faster. There's a lot of good free stuff on here, including some example things. Sample Assets Beta, I highly recommend you download this, even though it says beta. This is from Unity's team itself. They have a lot of really well-organized little projects and construction stuff that you can download and build stuff out of. So let's go ahead and start a new project. So I'm going to quit Unity just so you can see what the new project chooser looks like. I'm not going to save any changes that we made there, which we didn't actually make any. So I'm going to open up Unity again. I'm going to just type in Unity and get Unity opening. So recently opened projects, Angry Bots. So we're going to create a new project. I'm going to put this under, where do I want to put this? Let's put it on the desktop. So we're going to go Dragfire Desktop. And we're going to call the project Make a Game Now. And what are we going to do with our project? We're going to not add anything. We're going to set it up for 3D. We might make it 2D. We can change this later. I'm just going to hit Create Project. And you see the folder shows up on the desktop, and we have an empty scene, and it's very scary because it's so empty. The other one was scary because it was so full. This one is scary because it is so empty. Are we still broadcasting? I am actually going to check now because I'm curious. Cookingwithunity.com. Sign in. So, if we go to what we're currently doing, it's live now, sweet! And we click on all comments before the sound gets horrible. I use a dark gray for play mode tint myself, less obnoxious. Why isn't Virtual Boy in the poll of Vanguard V website? Yeah, we do need a Vanguard. Vanguard V does need a Virtual Boy version, so if we get up to the 1 million, we'll do it. So let's do that. So if Vanguard V gets funded, will there be any more Vanguard V specials on Cooking with Unity? Probably not. I mean, we might show the game off before launch or something, but like, I mean, we'll keep. I'm gonna keep making Cooking with Unity stuff. That's not going away. So, but this series itself, if it doesn't get funded, will go away. But if it does get funded, it will just stay up here and it'll be great, and everyone will be happy. So, so what are we gonna do? Project, console, alright, so this is what it looks like by default. I actually don't like this layout, so I'm going to change it to what we usually use on the show. So I like to drag the hierarchy and move it over to the left here. This project view, okay, so console I like having to the right of the inspector. You can of course change all this however you want, and this is the default like graphics-y project view, and I really don't like it, so I'm going to switch to one column layout. And that's that. So this is what's in our scene. That's the scene hierarchy. This is what's in our whole project. This is all the files and stuff that we have that we've generated, which we have nothing in there so far. This is the inspector, which allows you to see information on things. So if I click on main camera, you'll see what's on the main camera. In a default 3D scene, you'll get a main camera at 0, 1, -10, which is a place in 3D. We'll be talking more about coordinates as we go through. But that's where it is in 3 space. And what else happens here? I guess that's it. The console, if we started playing and something bad happened, we would see messages show up in the console here. They'll also show up down here if you don't have the console selected. Like the last one, at least, not all of them. So, so let's start by just making something really, really basic. So I'm going to create a cube. We're going to just go into the Create menu here and Cube. This will put a cube at 0, 0, 0. And if we hit play, you'll see that there's this really ugly-looking gray square in a ugly-looking blue universe around it. So how can we make that slightly less ugly-looking? If we create a directional light, we will now have lighting for the cube. Now, a directional light by default is directional. Like there's spotlights and point lights, which are different. Directional just go forever in a direction, roughly the same direction always, and it doesn't matter where you put them. You can slide it around wherever, it will give the same lighting on everything, but it does matter how you rotate them. So if you like rotate this around, you'll see the lighting change on the cube. I'm going to undo that. Command Z or Control Z if you are on Windows to undo. And if we hit play, you'll see now that we have a cube that's slightly lit. It still doesn't look great, but it looks better than it did before. What should we do next? I'm going to move the camera down. The reason that it defaults to 1, I think, is so that when you're setting up a 3D game, typically you set it up with a character that moves through the 3D game. We're going to be kind of setting up a 2D game in a 3D game, more than likely. I don't know. We'll see what we actually do for the game. The only thing I know about the game that we're going to be making so far is it's going to be a 2-button game, because I want it to be left side of the screen, right side of the screen if you're on mobile, and if you're on PC or whatever, any 2 buttons that you like. So let's see what we got here. So we've got a camera, we got a cube, we got a directional light. Now, you don't have to know much to start doing some things in Unity. I'm going to show you some stuff that we're probably not going to use in this project, but if you go into Assets, Import Package, you'll see that there's these ones that are built in. All these are built into Unity. The ones that say Pro only will only work on Pro, so those ones won't help you too much. But we can bring in some example scripts and some example stuff to work with that you can play with. And I recommend that you go through this stuff and you play around with it, right? So we could go scripts and hit import, and it'll have some basic scripts that we can use. Scripts are what make everything work in your game. So you can script in 3 different languages in Unity. You can use C#, JavaScript, or Boo. We're going to be using C# primarily on the show, though some of these example scripts are in JavaScript, so you might see some JavaScript today. So like mouse orbit. What this does is we can drag this onto, say, our camera, and we give it a target. So it has its target transform. So that means transform is like a game object. It's a slightly more specific thing than a game object, but game objects are what these things are, and target is what this thing's going to be rotating around. So if we do mouse orbit, drag in the cube, hit play, when we move the mouse now, the camera will orbit around the cube. Pretty snazzy. Didn't have to write anything. Now, the thing is, we could learn how this works. We can double-click on mouse orbit, and this is, of course, a JavaScript example. So this is, as I said, I'm going to be focusing mostly on C#, but if you're already familiar with JavaScript, feel free to use JavaScript. Seriously. Like, if you already know some programming, go for it. If you don't know anything, follow me on C#, because C# will ultimately be more useful to you. I guarantee it. So this does a bunch of stuff, and doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I'm going to walk us through it anyway. So angles is the transform Euler angles, Euler angles. It looks like Euler, but it's actually Euler. Euler was a dude that did geometry stuff. You should look him up. He's cool. But this basically just means get the angles of something. It basically just gets the rotation information. And it assigns some variables, so x equals angles.y and y equals angles.x. I don't really know why it's reversed, but there's probably a good reason for it. And we get some components. This is honestly more complex than what I'm going to be showing you at first, but this, you can see where you can learn from the things that you see here. This is mono-develop, by the way. This is included in Unity. You can use other text editors if you want, but mono-develop is included. That's what we'll be using on the tutorial. I'm going to close this solution here because we're never going to really need to see that. And yeah, so this is a script file. So let's make our own script. Let's make something that does something. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a C# script. I'm going to call it move left and right. We've actually made this several times on the show, but this is a new mini-series, and we're starting from scratch, and I want to show every single thing. I want someone to watch this series and be able to publish something. So we're going to double-click move left and right, and it will open up in the editor. And when you create a script, I did create C# script here in the little create menu. It automatically puts some text in for you. You don't have to type all this stuff from memory. What it's doing here is using Unity Engine. This means that we have the features of whatever's in Unity Engine. Using system.collections, that means we have the features of whatever's in system.collections. These are namespaces. I'm going to be throwing out a lot of buzzwords, especially if you're new to programming. I highly recommend that you look this stuff up and you'll learn more about it. But I'm going to use the proper terminology for things, and you're going to see what these things are. So this is a namespace, and this contains like functions and things you can do. We're going to be using some of the things that are in the Unity Engine's namespace here shortly. So public class move left and right. This is the name of your class. In Unity, it has to match the name of your file. If you rename this later, you need to rename this to match. Otherwise, things will not work quite so well. This mono behavior means that it is a class that derives from the mono behavior class. So it has things in it that are based on this other class that was defined elsewhere. As a matter of fact, we can right-click and kind of see some stuff. If we go to declaration. So this is the assembly browser. This is code that's built into Unity. And you can't see all the code. You can just see how you can access it. So this has different things that mono behavior has, and it also inherits from behavior, which inherits from component, and each of these things can have their own stuff. And all those inherit from object. We're not going to be dealing too much with inherency. I just want you to see that it is there. So this little bracket thing, by default they put them on the same line. I like to put them on the next line. I feel like it makes more sense as to where the code it begins and ends, so I'm going to just do that on these. I'll go ahead and save. This script currently does nothing, so we can actually attach it to something. Like we can attach the script to the cube, and I'm going to go on our main camera and get rid of the mouse orbit. Remove component. And so right now we attached it to the cube, and I can't do anything with the cube. The cube's just going to sit there. It has the script, move left and right, but it's not doing anything. What it is going to be doing is moving left or right based on our input. I'm going to start just by moving it, though. We're just going to make it move in a direction. Actually, maybe I'm going to come back to the script. I'm actually going to just make a script called move. So this one's just going to automatically move. I'm going to attach this to our cube. And again, it's going to be empty, so it doesn't do anything. I'm going to double click it. I'm going to put these on the next line. So we got two things in here by default. There's actually more that we can set up, and we can create our own functions as well. These are actually just function declarations, but these two are very special function declarations. These are ones that Unity itself uses. Anytime an object is created, start gets called the moment it starts. And anything in between these brackets is done to that object or to whatever it says to do it to once at that moment. Update, I just zoomed out. Normal size. And actually, I'm going to zoom in just one step for the purposes of our viewers at home. Update is another special function. This one happens once an object is enabled and out there. It happens every frame forever until the object goes away, and it happens once per frame. So update is where you put most of your logic in things. So I'm going to show you a difference between start and update. I'm going to just make it so we're going to do transform dot position. And do I start with the linear algebra? Yeah, you're going to get a crash course in linear algebra. So transform dot position plus equals vector3 dot right. So what this means, transform dot position is a vector 3. A vector describes something in 3 space. Technically a vector is a line that has it's a thing that has direction and magnitude. If you've seen Despicable Me, there is a joke about that, actually, and it's very appropriate for a 3D movie to have jokes about vectors because 3D people have to deal with vectors all the time. But basically, it can describe a point in space, and it can also describe a direction, and it can also describe magnitude in a direction. There's a few different things it can do. Transform dot position just means whatever object this script is on, get its transform, grab its position, and then we're going to add vector3 dot right, which is another vector to it. Now, transform dot position has subcomponents of x, y, and z. And so you can modify these things or read these things to see where it is in 3 space. This is standard graph nomenclature. So when you are saying x, y, and z, if we take our cube, it's in 3 space, it's at 0, 0, 0. If we put it at 1 in the x, it moves over to the right. If we put it 1 in the y, it moves up. If we put it 1 in the z, it moves forward. Not all 3D programs use the same conventions. Some programs use z as up, some programs use y as up, some programs use a lot of different things. Unity, z is forward, y is up, x is right. That is the way of the universe. What this is actually meaning is this is a special version of vector3.right gives you a vector that is 1 unit long in the right. It would be equivalent to a 1, 0, 0 here. And what this is, plus equals, means add and then reassign here. It's the same as typing vector3.right plus transform.position. But it's faster because you only have to type in transform.position once because you want to put it back into transform.position at the end of it. So if we save this and hit play, you will see that it looks like nothing happened, but something actually did happen. So if I go into the game view, you'll see that the cube is right there, and if we hit play, it has moved to the right. This is because this was executed once. So if we instead, I'm going to comment it so people learn. If you put slashes in front of things, that doesn't happen. This is just text that either you don't want to have happen, or you can write like, this is some text we don't want to have happen. It's very useful. You should comment your code. This is called a comment. And / is one of the ways to do them. The other way you can do them is you can do /* and then type in a bunch of multiple lines and then do */ at the end. And then everything between there will not be counted by the compiler. So the computer knows not to look at that. If we don't have stuff like this and we hit save, the compiler is going to complain. It's going to be like unexpected symbol text. That doesn't make any sense. It actually got pretty far. This is somehow got far enough. Too many characters. Yeah, there's all these errors that really don't say what the actual problem is. The problem is that we typed a bunch of English and your computer doesn't like it. So we're going to hit save. And we're going to go and we're going to copy and paste this into the update so that you can see what it does. So now we have it in the update. We hit save. Console's clear. Good. It compiled. We hit play. And there goes our cube. It just flew off to the right. Yay. It has moved. It will move 1 unit every frame. That's a lot of movement. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save so that we can save our scene here. We're going to call this test scene 1. There will be more test scenes to come. And what we're going to do is we're going to add something here. We're going to add one more thing. Times. Time.delta time. So in programming, the star means multiply. And time.delta time is a very magic little number. So right now, if we don't have time.delta time, what this means is move 1 unit to the right every frame, which is really fast. It's super fast. It's a little too fast, right? And it's also frame rate specific. So like if you were running this, like if we had a lot of stuff in the scene and it was slowing down an old computer, or if you were on a new computer that runs at 240 hertz and you run it, it's going to run way slow or way fast. And we don't actually want that. We want it to run the same speed no matter what. That's what multiplying time.delta time does. This makes it so this function just returns a value that is, well, it's a property, it's not a function. This property returns a value that represents the amount of time that has elapsed since the last frame. So if you have some frame skip, like if you render a frame and then the next frame takes like 3 seconds to render, this will be 3. Typically, it's around 1/60th on most computers and at most of the time. But if you're running slower, it'll be a little bit larger numbers. If you're running faster, it'll be a little bit smaller numbers. By multiplying this in, it changes this from a statement of how much you want to do every frame and changes it into how much you want to do every second. And doing things in seconds is a lot easier because we are used to seconds, and seconds are constant. We don't have to worry about seconds. So if we hit save on this, you'll note that the cube moves considerably slower. But if you count out 1001, 1002, you'll see that this position is moving by about 1 unit every second, which is exactly what we asked it to do, which is super awesome. So we already got something moving on the screen. That's great. Some people wait their whole lives for that to happen. But if you wait, it'll never happen. So we've got it moving to the right. So let's look back at our move left and right script. So I'm going to copy this line into the update here. But we're going to add one more term to it. So I'm going to put it between, I like to put time.delta time at the end. I don't know, it's just a coding standard I have. It does not matter where you put it in because the order of operations, if it's all multiply, it all ends up in the same answer anyway. So if you do a times here, we're going to do input.getAxis. We're going to do a parenthesis, quote, horizontal, in parenthesis. So input.getAxis is a function that is built into Unity. This is actually part of the Unity engine namespace. And what it does is it gets a control axis, so like left, right on your joystick or up, down on a joystick. And it can also be keys on a keyboard. Like this by default, there's a axis called horizontal. I'll show you where that's defined. But if you choose horizontal, it'll automatically go left and right on the keyboard. If you press left on the on the arrow key, you'll move left, right, you'll move right. Well, you will in this case. What this actually returns is just a value between -1 and 1. So if you're pressing nothing, it will return 0, which means that this whole thing will become 0. If you remember your multiply tables, 0 times anything is 0, which is great because it means all this just goes away and you don't move. If you move to the left or to the right, if you move to the left, it will be -1. If you're on an analog stick, it'll be less than -1. It can be an analog scale between 0 and -1, so like it might be 0.5 or 0.8. If you're moving to the right, it'll be to 1, and if you're on an analog stick, again, it will move from 0 to 1. Unity by default on their axes actually emulates a little bit of analog, so you'll see that when we hit save here. So if I hit play right now, you'll notice that our thing's still moving to the right. And that's because we already have that move script. And I can kind of stop it by holding left, and I can probably move it faster by moving right. So we don't want this move left. We don't want the move script anymore. So we're going to remove that. We're going to get rid of move because we don't care about it anymore. We just want to move left and right. So if we hit play now, you'll see that we can move left and right. Sweet. So I'm just pressing the keys on the keyboard. Now, where horizontal is defined is if you go into Edit, Project Settings, Input, and then open up Axes. This is everything that is by default assigned in a new Unity project. You can create your own things. You can right-click and duplicate the array element, or you can increase the size and just start adding things to the bottom of this. This is just what's built in. Horizontal is automatically left and right. Vertical is automatically up and down. It also has AD and SW, so if you're doing WASD controls, it'll work. And then it has like Fire 1 is left control and Fire 2. So you can use any of these in the button and get access stuff, and you'll get these nicely pre-made things. You can also make your own later. We'll be doing that as well, but probably not on this episode. So, let's do one last thing, and then we're going to call it on this episode. Most of these episodes are going to be about an hour long. I'm going to break them at logical points, though. So, like, I think this is probably a good ending point here. What we're going to do is we're going to define a variable. So, again, if you're not used to scripting... So, as I said, this series is going to let you make a game from start to finish. If you follow it along, you'll be able to make the exact same game as we're making from start to finish. But you might not know exactly everything that's going on. We've got a bunch of other videos that show this detail and stuff, and you should always seek more knowledge. Don't just come here for your knowledge. Go everywhere. Just get on the internet and start searching, how do I do things in Unity? Or how do I do C#? Learn some of this stuff. So this is C# programming. We're going to declare a public float speed, and I'm going to set it equal to 1.0f. So what this actually means is this is a variable. It means that we can change it. It varies, and we can use it. So like this, if I type in speed somewhere, this just means I want 1.0f now. Like anywhere I put it, it will be 1.0f. Or something else if I change it. Like I could do something like speed equals, 5.0f. And now it'll start as 1.0f, but then immediately it will be switched to 5.0f. Why do we need this variable? Well, if we multiply our speed into our equation, we now have vector3.right times input.getAxis horizontal times speed times time.delta time, and hit save. We've made it public. So one of the things that's really nice in Unity is, in Unity, if you have a public variable, it will show up here. Sometimes it takes a little while for it to compile. It's done now, so that's great. So now if we hit play, we can move left and right, and we can change this value. You can actually type in a new value, like 5, and now it moves faster. Look at that. It moves 5 times as fast. You can also drag it. You can actually drag it to increase or decrease the value, and you can see that it increases or decreases in turn. Now, again, if you stop playing, it will not save the setting that you had. So if you find a good tweak value, remember to remember it, or you can, let's say we changed it to 5. You can, if you only changed one component, which I only recommend changing 1 or 2 things when you're in play mode anyway, you can do copy component, and then you can paste component values here, and it will show up. So now if we hit play, it will always be 5 at the start. Now you'll notice that I set it to 1 here. Why did I set it to 1? The main reason is, by default, floats will default to 0. So if I didn't set it to 1 here, when you drag the script on, it'll set to speed 0. It would be 0. And speed 0 looks like it's not working, because it doesn't move. And so it's much better to set it to something that's appropriate, so that if you just drag a script on there, it'll do something, so that it's more obvious that it's working. This is important user interface stuff that, you don't have to set that to 1. Like, I could have just left it at 0 and just remembered to change it, but it's better to have it at a value where you'll be able to see the result. So I'm going to set this to like 10, just because it's fast. And the last thing I'm going to look at here is, you'll notice that it kind of smoothly accelerates. The only reason it's doing that is because in our input settings, horizontal, it has this gravity and sensitivity. So sensitivity is how fast it goes to the full value, and gravity is how fast it falls from that value. So if you set this to something ridiculously high, like 1,000, you'll note, 1,000, you'll note that it will just instantly accelerate to full. It just goes. And so I just wanted you to be aware of that. We didn't do any magic to make it go smooth. It was just smooth because Unity automatically emulates a analog controller even when you're using keyboard. If you don't want that, set the gravity and sensitivity very high. If you look at Fire 1 and Fire 3, these are just buttons. They do not have gravity or sensitivity. They set them to 1,000. This is what you do if you don't want to deal with it. If you don't want that smoothness. So anyway, I'm going to call that a jam on this video. The next video will be at 8:30 tonight p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I will be putting an announcement up. We normally do episodes Monday and Thursday. During this whole series, we're going to be doing a lot of episodes, probably about around 3 or 4 a day. And I'm going to be scheduling them a little bit better in advance after today. I just wanted to get some of this stuff done, and I wanted to do it now. I didn't want to spend time waiting. So anyway, let's see if anyone commented on anything. Show 12 new comments. It's not showing them. If anyone forgets because it's their first time, commenting the code would help them remember. Nope, is a program on my computer bugging out? Comment your code, you will regret it later otherwise. Actually, yeah, let's be good commenters. / this moves our object left or right based on input. Just gonna do that. Save. And save project, save scene, save project, and we're gonna quit for real. Thank you for joining us, and you have a great night, and I'll see you at 8:30 with more of this, or instantly if it's the future. If you're from the future and you're viewing this video and it's already done, then you can it'll probably just go to the next video automatically.